In this video, you will learn how to create new filters in Unify. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to the concept of filtering and why this is useful in Unify. During the initial processing of your dataset, we typically use wide tolerances for the identification of a compound. In this case, a tolerance of 20 ppm was used for the mass accuracy, and a tolerance of plus minus 0.35 minutes was used for the retention time. With this, we can make sure to create a complete picture of your sample and to avoid false negatives based on two strict identification criteria. These results are typically displayed on a workflow step called Identified. However, this data still contains a lot of false positives, showing up with bad mass accuracy or missing diagnostic fragments, or both. Instead of reprocessing your dataset, which is a time-consuming step, we are filtering the data to narrow down our results. For this learning video, I have created 3 additional steps on my workflow and applied an individual filter on them. The first step uses a filter which shows only compounds which include the item tag SSM. It gives me a clear picture of my QC sample showing only the 10 compounds of interest. The second step is showing the best matching targets in this sample. I've defined criteria in my filter to see only the compounds which show a response greater than 10,000, a mass accuracy better than 5 ppm, and a minimum of 1 diagnostic fragment. The third step is showing the outliers. Here I've applied a filter which gives me compounds that either show a bad mass accuracy or are within a good mass accuracy of 5 ppm, but the diagnostic fragments are missing completely. Let's have a look at the filters and how to create them. Clicking on Filter in the top right corner gives you the option to apply an existing filter to your workflow step with Select Filters, modify or create filters with Manage Filters, or remove any existing filters from your current workflow step. To create a new filter, choose the option Manage. From here, you can select whether you'd like to create a complete new filter, modify an existing filter, delete a previously created filter, or apply a filter to your workflow step. Let's start with Create. The next window is asking you for a name for your new filter. In addition, you can enter a description for this filter. In this drop-down menu, you can select which filter type should be applied. The injection filter is based on the sample type and gives you, for example, the option to visualize QC samples only. The component filter is based on specific criteria of your component, such as an item tag, mass accuracy, or detected fragments. The comparison filter is used if you are working in comparison mode. Select a type and click on Next to specify your filtering options. Let's have a closer look at the filters I've created for my workflow. We will start with the SSM filter. I'm selecting it and I'm using Modify to show you the details. As you can see here, it is a component-based filter. The filtering criterion is simple. I'm using only one parameter, the item tag, and it must be SSM. You can select item tags coming from your library. You can also select multiple item tags or deselect them. After pressing next, you'll get a summary. The summary tells you what kind of filter you're applying. In this case, we're filtering on item tags, and the tags must be SSM. Applying this filter to my SSM slide gives me as a result a page where I see only the items tagged with SSM, regardless if they have been identified or not. Now let's have a look at my second filter, which I've created to get my best matching results. I'm opening it using Modify. As you can see, this is also a component-based filter. But now we are applying a more complex filtering rule. It combines 4 different filters. As you can see, I've selected the expected fragments which are found should be greater than 0. The identification status of my compound should be identified. The mass error in ppm should be in between -5 and 5 ppm. And the response of this compound should be greater or equal than 10,000. In addition, you have this drop-down selection, which is either combining all of these functions with an AND functionality or with an OR functionality. Match all of these expressions means all of these 4 lines must be true that the compound will be displayed on my page. Changing this to any of these expressions would mean that if any of this expression is true, I would get a result on my slide. We will keep it as all to combine these 4 steps into one filter. Clicking on Next gives you again a summary. So we're filtering with the identification status which must be identified, and the mass error must be between -5 and 5 ppm, and the expected fragments found must be greater than 0, and the response is greater or equal 10,000. With this filter applied to my slide, I am extracting compounds which have been identified, but I have removed all compounds with bad mass accuracy or missing fragments. The last filter I've created is showing results which have either a bad mass accuracy, but a fragment was found, or they have a good mass accuracy within 5 ppm, but no fragment was found. Let's create it together. Filters, Manage Filters, Create. Out. You're filtering on components. Next. We want the identification status to be identified. Plus, our mass accuracy should be in between -5 and 5 ppm. Plus, the fragments found for the sample is 0. This is one rule set applying now and showing me these type of outliers. Now I need a second rule set. I can produce a second rule set with this large plus on the left side. It gives me a second rule set where I can again combine different criteria. So my identification status should be identified. The number of fragments found should be greater or equal than 1. But the mass error in ppm should not be in between -5 and 5 ppm. Now I have two different rule sets all combined into one slide. As you can see here, I can match all the groups, which would mean this must be true and this must be true, but this is not what we want. We can select to match any of the groups. In this case, either this group or this group must be true to give me a result. Within these groups, all of the expressions must be true. Clicking on Next is giving you again a summary of your filter. We can finish and apply it. With this, you can create really complex filters, helping you to deal with this large amount of data.